Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Raw Relationships Unfiltered, the podcast where we peel back every layer of your relationships, whether it's romantic, family, friendship, business, and most importantly, the one with yourself. We go all the way in, you know that. Now, that being said, I'm usually the one asking the questions, calling people out, challenging the BS, making you face your shit. But after my interview with Pastor Henry last week, he asked if he could keep recording, flip the mic, and ask me a few questions. So what started as a few quick questions turned into a full-on ego check. He asked me what I think men struggle with, what women wish men understood, and how my own beliefs have been shaped by my trauma, my healing, and my truth. I know, deep shit. And honestly, it got super deep, super triggering, but also healing. So this isn't just a bonus episode. It's a mirror. It's raw. It's uncomfortable. And it humbled the hell out of me. Because here's the truth. Sometimes the one who teaches it needs to sit in it too. So if you've ever thought, I know I'm meant for more, but something's still blocking me, this episode is meant for you. Let's flip it. Let's get uncomfortable. And if you're ready to get real and raw, let's go. Welcome to the carnival. I'm the ringleader now. Won't hear a sound at all. It's out very low, 6 feet underground.
So, okay. When I ask you the question, then switch to speaker and answer it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So the question is this. If you can put like in order 1 to 5, what are the 5 top things that you think men are struggling with? What are the top 5 issues in the lives of men today? Put it in an order, 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
Starting from 5, which is the least, to 1.
The least, okay. Yeah. Number 5, I would say would be identity. Struggling with their identity.
Wow. Explain.
So for the identity, really just trying to figure out, they are always trying to figure out who they are. I can't tell you how many times I dated a guy and he didn't know who he was, right? He's like trying to figure out his path, and then he ends up going out and drinking, or he ends up breaking up with another relationship. So he's really busy, working, saying that he's trying to find his path, but he's not actually getting there because he's not doing the actual steps that it takes, right? And then number 4 would have to be, I think number 4 would have to be communication. And what I mean by that is what we talked about in the podcast, that it is one thing to sit there and say, well, my voice needs to be heard too, right? But to be able to communicate effectively with intention is something that every man, I think, struggles with, because they're not supposed to communicate. They're supposed to be quiet. They're supposed to be strong and tough. They're supposed to have this exterior of, I have all the answers, right? So then they get to sit there and be like, I have all the answers. And so they sit there and stay quiet, and inside they're just boiling and festering, right? And then they have these explosions of like, well, my feelings matter too. And it's like, okay, but also you got to say it effectively, bro. So communicating to be heard, right? We can't read their minds. They can't read our minds. So you can't just sit still, look pretty. And then number 3 would be Well, because they can't communicate, they numb. They tend to numb. Now, I'm not just talking about like alcohol, drugs, smoking, sugar, working out, gaming, literally numbing the feeling.
Porn,
What's that?
pornography.
Right. Huge, huge. Pornography
Yes.
is so huge because then they get that quick fix. They don't have to. My podcast that I had earlier was this guy, he's talking about how he takes psychedelics. Now, mind you, I didn't know that he still took them. So I was like, well,
Wow.
maybe those psychedelics are why you got diagnosed with bipolar. And he was like, I actually still take them. And I was like, all right, I don't know if I just offended you or not. But in my head, I'm like, but also like I was telling my fiance, he's like, well, I mean, your podcast, Real Raw Relationships, so you should have just ran with it. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to demolish somebody on a podcast. But it's that numbing of that quick fix, that instant high gratification, whatever it is, so that you don't have to actually sit, right? The second one would be being able to allow, trying to think of how to word it. Being able to allow, trying to think of how to being able to just be. So it's, I've had this conversation with my fiance where it's like, you've got to be the provider, the protector, provide, was it provide, serve, and protect? He's over here.
Oh, you're talking about what we initially.
Yeah, what is it called? Provide, serve, and protect?
Right. Provide, protect, suffer, sacrifice.
Oh, okay. So it's provide, protect, suffer, sacrifice.
Wow.
So that's what men are mostly taught: provide, protect, serve, sacrifice, right? So they have to be everything for everyone. So something that we have talked about many times is you don't have to do so much. You just have to be present. You have to be present for it. You don't have to be the most muscular man. You don't have to be the most emotional, the most intimate, the most sexual, nobody gives a shit. It is, can you be present with intention? Now, I know that one was a doozy. So think number one, can they be vulnerable? They struggle with being vulnerable. And I'm not talking about emotionally dumping or sitting there and saying, I'm allowed to do this and well, you're not allowed to do this, and getting defensive and argumentative and sitting there and saying, these are my feelings and you're crossing boundaries, right? Because whether it's man or woman, we do it all the time. But can you be vulnerable, which means, can you actually let your walls down without spiraling out of control or trying to break up with someone or cheating on them or, running away from a situation, running away from a family? Can you be vulnerable and open in a healthy way so that you can do all those other things? Number 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's what I would say would be the 5.
Last question.
Okay.
It's a two-sided question. What is the one way you think men misunderstand women?
Ooh.
And then what is the one most I don't want to say outstanding. What is the one most memorable or most hurtful way a man has misunderstood you?
I think one of the biggest ways that men misunderstand women is that, well, like I said earlier, women just want you to understand them. So when they attack you, it's never about you. 90% of the time, it is not about you. I mean, unless obviously you cheated on her and then she's mad at you. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? But when a woman is yelling at you, it's not about you. It's not about you. Not take your ego out of it, because it's not. It is about something that's going on when you come home and she lashes out at you. You never take the trash out. You didn't do this. You're walking in the house with mud all over your shoes, right? We do that. But what we're really saying is, I need a hug. I need affection. I don't care if I'm screaming at you right now. If you can take your head out of your butt and come over to me and just realize that I'm having a pretty shitty day and I need you to just hug me. My fiance has to do it to me, and I'll be like, I act like a little child sometimes. Like, no, no, no. And then he just grabs me and just like bear hugs. And then I feel my whole body just, oh, yeah, I just become this like puddle, just
How do
puddle.
you solve the problem of you have a need, but your way of communicating your need is by screaming at the man?
It's horrible. It's horrible. And you know what ends up happening is, if you can get past that and be like, oh, babe, what did you want? Then you can soften her. So then you can sit there and you can say, okay, babe, I'm here for you. You're safe. Now, how can we fix this for the next time? So that next time you feel this way, what is a way that we can communicate better, right? But it's just like talking to a child. You talk to a 2-year-old, and yeah, I'm calling women children because we can act like fucking children like none other. You have a 2-year-old come up to you and they're like, I want my diaper change. And they're just whining and complaining at you. And then you're sitting there and you're like, oh, shut up. Just stop crying. They won't stop crying.
Use your words. Use your words.
Yeah.
That's what you tell them. And then, where are your pleases? Please, may I?
Right. And trying to tell that to a 2-year-old, you're literally arguing with your own self. That's what you're doing. They're not going to, I've never seen a 2-year-old sit there and be like, you are absolutely right, Mom. I am so sorry. No, they don't. What do? They scream louder. They kick. They throw things. Why? Because they just want to be heard and they're dysregulated. So what do? You hold the 2-year-old, you calm them down, and then once they're regulated, then you can have a conversation. If a woman is dysregulated, you cannot sit there and tell her you aren't allowed to act that way, because 90% of the time that woman is triggered by somebody in their past that told them that they weren't allowed to speak, have a voice. And so now they're taking all their trauma and they're spiraling on you. Instead of you just hugging them and it's becoming nothing, it has become a WWE SmackDown, and only the strongest will survive. That's what happens. I know you're getting the visual because I see it right now and I'm like, yeah, it's true. It happens.
So funny.
And then what was the second one you mentioned? The biggest mistake that I've made, right?
No. I was saying, what's the biggest way a man has misunderstood you?
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, actually, exactly that. My relationship with my fiance is not perfect, but he sits there and he listens to me. And I've never had that before. I've had a lot of I dated a lot of toxic relationships because I was trying to get validation and love, safety, belonging, all the things from trauma and stuff, right? The needs that were never met. And so in my mind, I always had to prove who I was. I always had to prove my worth, right? So when he's asking a simple question, I take it as he's, attacking my very being. And I'm like, right? And so the biggest thing is I just wanted to be heard. And so when he started doing that and he would sit there and say, I actually want to hear this story. Like, oh my God. Like, wow. I've never had that before. I've never had somebody actually, and I mean, I've had it in conversations with people, but I mean, I've never had it in a romantic relationship where they actually cared, not trying to get in my pants, not trying to, get some friends with benefits or whatever it was. They actually cared and heard. And that was like really huge for me because he was the first person that actually saw me past my pain. And that was the whole problem that I had in every relationship, was that I had this tough exterior and everybody would call me, you're a bitch, they would call me even worse names than that. We're not going to go into that. But they would say that I was just the most cold-hearted person. I would make everybody cry. I was known for making people cry. Men, women, children, old ladies, old men. I made employees, supervisors, owners. I made people cry for a living, essentially. But it was always because I just wanted somebody to validate me. I just wanted somebody to actually accept that I was hurting and I didn't know how to heal. And that was the hardest thing that I ever had to actually see, was that I wasn't this horrible person. And that's actually the inspiration for why I started my business. Because if I'm feeling this way, there's other women out there, and they're not angry and they're not bitter and they're not horrible women. They just want to be heard. They just want to actually be loved, to be seen past their pain, past their problems. And I think I even told you about the guy at Walmart that attacked me. I got attacked a little less than a year ago at Walmart back in October. And I remember the prosecutor calling me and asking me, she was like, well, what do you want to do about him? Do you want to lock him up? And I said, that's not what I want at all. I feel so bad for him, because somebody that would attack anybody in Walmart in general, it's horrible. That they must have gotten so low in their life to attack a random stranger. They must have so much pain. And I asked them to send him to some place. I mean, they didn't. They sent him to prison, but
Wow.
But just, I think that's the biggest thing, though. Yeah. Sorry. I got when I start getting into it, I just keep going. I'm sorry, man.
That's fine. That's fine. But thank you. I hope you clip that and send it to me. I'm doing a men's conference, and I'm getting about 100 women to tell us, 5 top things that are the issues. And I want men to respond to it,
Yeah, I love that. You definitely have to tell me how that goes. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. Yeah, but you got to send me this, because I want some men to do this. Yours are very unique. I think the last 2, I found them unique. For instance, I've talked to 23 women, and all of them have anger, but you didn't mention anger.
Yeah.
But you mentioned 5 very powerful things. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the anger is just a symptom. Anger is a symptom. It's not the actual core of it, right? We can sit there and say we have anxiety, anger, bipolar, narcissistic, but really you're just giving them symptoms.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Well, thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.